We are live.
That's what they say. What's up, Mr. Ryan?
Oh man, this week has been a push.
Mm-hmm.
It's nonstop.
So you're going all in. That's what you're telling me? We're going to the casino, all in, give me all the chips.
Oh, man. It just seems like every week I'm like, dude, I just got to get through Friday. If I can get through Friday, then I'm good. And then Monday comes around and then I'm like, I just got to get through Friday. And this is just another one of those times where I'm like, man, just a lot going on. A lot of craziness in the world. And as we talked about last week, I was just coming off of that trip to Maui and I was refreshed and ready to go. And I just need to keep this Maui vibe going as long as I possibly can. And I'm like, I'm just pushing. I'm resisting the pressures of trying to go to succumb to the pressures of the world.
Well, namaste.
And I'm not so sure
Ryan.
that today's guest is going to like
make that any better.
Make that any better, man. World's crazy right now. And so I'm looking forward to this as we pushed out on LinkedIn and some socials last night. The challenge of doing this show live is that every once in a while things happen in life and we have a last minute cancellation and it all worked itself out.
Appreciate everyone who chimed in for themselves or for someone else. You know, I'm a big fan of like raising your damn hand. Obviously, that's how I got a TV show. You never know what can happen. So don't be afraid to raise your hand. The worst thing that happens is they ignore you. Best thing that happens is we get to have the man, William Randolph, on the show. I met William, I don't know, a decade ago. When did you move down here?
2017.
Okay, so 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Where did you come from? Northern Virginia?
Northern Virginia. Yeah, I had spent
25
years there. Woodbridge, so Prince William County.
PG represent. Okay, so was the first event a Start Peninsula event, or was it something different? Like, because I feel like I've seen you at that event multiple times.
So Zach, I think it was back in the Hatch days, actually.
Okay.
So, yeah, we were connected, doing some things in the city. I was introducing myself to the city, and one of the things that that I had participated in was, I think, one of your Hatch events.
Okay. There you go.
Often the case, as we have learned on this show.
It's always like it's always interesting too to try to reminisce and recall something from so long ago.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
See you.
So how's your life going, William? I mean, I'm sure it's probably pretty boring right now. Not a lot going on.
The best words that I can use and I continue to use are these are interesting times. As a former Fed, I spent 26 years in federal government as well as a little bit of military time before that. I see what's going on in the world right now at the federal level and the administration level and all the secondary and tertiary impacts of that. My heart goes out to them. And then as a government contractor, because I planted my flag after I retired. As a government contractor, selling back primary clients, selling back into the government. That has been, interesting there. We've had contracts canceled and delayed, and we'll see, because of a lot of things that are going on in the administration right now.
With that, I mean, I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I one of my philosophies is oftentimes chaos creates opportunity. So, I don't know. Let's dig in and see if there's opportunity. But like for those that, what is MicroMarket? What do you do? Give us a quick overview, and then we'll dive into what's going on.
Absolutely. So MicroMarket is a product that came out of our government contracting business. So I'll take one step back. The federal government purchases goods and services at a dollar value, $10,000 or below, through something they call the Government Purchase Card Program, the GPC. It's basically a credit card. So $10,000 or below. There are 70,000, or at least prior to Doge activity, there were 70,000 card holders across the federal government. Last year in 2024, those 70,000 did over 200 million transactions. So think about 200 million credit card swipes. And those credit card swipes culminated in over $27 billion worth of spend. Now that $27 billion worth of spend is cut into two parts: products and services. 70%, the lion's share, is products, and there's lots of places to go buy products. Think about Amazon.com, Amazon Business, Granger's, Staples. There are lots of places for medical supplies, Uline, lots of places for products. But when you go look for one place for services, there wasn't a place. And we were looking because in our training and development business, I had a business coach that says, you need to be doing more of that micro purchasing stuff. And it's a season to that. It's, it's small dollar value, and one tends to think they grow out of that activity, but it's a low input to a outsized and speedy output. And my business coach said, you need to be doing more of that. And I was like, okay, the only way I can get to do that is to get in front of more eyeballs. So it's like, we went looking. It's like, is there a platform? Is there a Shopify? Is there like a Fiverr for government contracting services? And the answer was no. We couldn't find anything at the entry level, that $10,000 and below. So we started building something for ourselves. And so look, we're just going to build a platform so our company can put our services out for everybody. And then in the middle of it, the team was like, wait a minute, if we build this for us, we could build it for everybody. So that is where MicroMarket was born. It's a two-sided marketplace that allows small businesses to connect with federal, state, local, higher ed, and commercial companies offering services that are $10,000 or below that can be purchased via a credit card swipe.
Okay, so it sounds like, a lot of, I don't know what the right word is, like regulation. So I remember this like with colleges, like when I would try to get money out of them. Mm-hmm. It's like, if you're below this threshold, we can write this check right now.
Absolutely.
But if you're not, and you want more than that, then we have to go and bid it out, RFP it out, stuff like that. So Is it kind of in that same realm?
Same concept. $10,000 or below. It is highly efficient. You don't even have to be registered in the normal SAM.gov infrastructure model. Not even a requirement. The rules actually say that the buyer should consider 3 quotes. That's the extent. Yes, air quotes. That's the extent of the obligation for competition and market research. So I've been on calls with vendors or on calls with clients in the morning and been under contract in the afternoon with dollars coming to my bank account like in 48 hours. That's the sales cycles that small businesses want.
Yeah. And just to level set for folks that are listening. I mean, like, there's times you have this GPC, this purchasing card, government purchasing card. If you have mission critical stuff that you need a part so that an airplane can fly or something like that. Yep. You don't have time you've got to respond so that you can make that purchase quickly.
Absolutely. And that's the efficiency of it. When you think about all that's going on in the world, the efficiency of the government purchase card that's really the value proposition, is that you don't have those, what we call the long cycle contracting model of identifying requirements, putting it out for bid, doing some analysis, getting a proposal back, selecting a winner, and then going through the award process and all the paperwork. This is truly a credit card swipe. I've had instances where I've written a paragraph in an email and it was like, yep, that's good enough. Show me where to pay.
And you said 13 billion. Okay, so there's 17 million in transactions alone overall, and 20
million last year in fiscal year 24, 20 million transactions.
And $13.2 billion of that is under the 10,000 range?
Yes.
So a lot of cheddar is moving, is what I'm
hearing. Lots.
Divide that by 365 days. And I mean, that's a lot of money per day.
You're making this difficult.
Well, and the thing that's really interesting about this, and I'm sure that things haven't changed from my time when I was in the military, was like each organization, you may have 1 or 2 people that have this government purchase card. So it's locked down, but in the sense of, so it's hard for the organization to find someone who can use that card. But to your point, William, it's equally as difficult or more difficult for the person on the outside to know how to get in touch with the person that has this card.
Exactly. It's hard to find the demand signals. That everybody knows that there are demand signals. You can look at the data and say, the government is spending money here, but there's no platform, no one place to go look and see where the requirements are coming from. So one of the characteristics of MicroMarket is we built a search, not only the search, kind of the window shopping and the market research platform, but if a buyer comes to the platform and can't find exactly what they're looking for, we added a post a request feature on the platform that they can say, this is what I'm looking for. And that goes out to all of the vendors on the platform. And that's just a functionality that has never existed at the $10,000 or below level.
So instead of taking the time to buy the $90,000 toilet, you can sell them the $9,000 toilet
10 times
right
That's
away,
right.
and you just save the government $81,000.
Absolutely. That's the value proposition of the speed.
Yep.
Lots of buyers, lots of sellers in the marketplace that tends to have a downward pressure on prices.
How long have you been working on this?
About 18 months now. It was actually my birthday of 2023 where the idea came into my head. By the beginning of 2024, we had a white label project that we had bolted some stuff on as an MVP. Just like let's just see if this idea will catch fire. I had some folks that were interested in building me a platform for $100,000. I was like, dude, I can't spend $100,000 just to see if it'll actually, does it make sense? I believe it makes sense because it would have been a tool that I would have used when I was in government, but I had to prove it out. So January, we turned it on. From January to March, you had to work one side or the other of a marketplace. You're really running two businesses when you run a marketplace. You've got buyers and you've got sellers. So you want to make sure that when the buyers come, there's actually something to be bought. So for the first 3 months, so January to March, we were focused on getting our members on the platform. We had our first 150 members by March. We had our first sale in April. And now we are, I just signed a new person up last night. We're at 769 vendors on the platform.
That's, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, like, as if it's not difficult enough, to add some more color to what's going on here is like, the world it's interesting times, as you said. But then when you throw in the complexity of a continuing resolution and everything else. So what happens when there's not a budget, the government can't necessarily spend money. They have to operate on last year's budget or spend the bare minimum.
Yes.
But then all of a sudden a budget is approved and now you have to spend all of whatever your budget is within a compressed timeline. So then that adds complexity or opportunity a lot of times because you have to spend 9 months worth of budget in 6 months or whatever the case is.
Absolutely. And Tim, it's two parts to that. It's not only the spending all the year's budget in the remaining time, but you're halfway through the year already. So the spending is already 6 months of the spending at the end of this month, we'll be at the end of the second quarter. So halfway through. So you've spent money already. So if there are cuts, it's not like you can go back and apply the cuts retroactively. You have to take the cuts in what's left. So that's where it looks. It gets the challenge is exacerbated by the timeline. But to your point of opportunity, that is indeed where the opportunity lies. I tell all of my colleagues now, and I share this with the folks in Illinois, is that of all the executive orders that have dropped, none of them have created a September 31st. Okay. September 30th is still the date. So there's going to be lots of opportunity. So you need to be doing the things to position yourself to be ready, because none of the executive orders added 1 day to the fiscal years. And all of those dollars, while they're taking people out of the system, there's only a few places where they're, kind of removing the big dollars.
I think that one thing, one of the things I enjoy this conversation. Like when I was the resource advisor back when I was in uniform. So I was the guy that had to manage the budget, create the budget, spend the budget. So like I understand this all too well. And
And I don't understand any of it, so I'm like a fly on the wall listening to you. So I'm like, all right, let's go.
Well, the thing that one of the first lessons that was taught to me was I had an amazing commander, and he was like, Tim, first lesson when it comes to money is money will follow the path of least resistance.
Yes.
And so what I'm hearing, and what based on your platform is that vendors, they need to prepare themselves now so that they can be that path of least resistance. So
Absolutely.
when the government buyers need to spend that money, they need to be able to spend it really, really quickly on the things that they need.
Yes.
Because if they can't, or if they have, it really can come down to if you can't spend it instantly, or if you have to do some more research, then that opportunity may pass you by, and then you've lost it.
You got it.
So
you got it.
Now is the time to get in touch with you to make sure that you're prepped and ready to go.
Yeah, I think that's the model that I'm sharing with folk now, and I'm hopeful that MicroMarket will be one of those tools. Now, I do have to address the elephant in the room, and that the Doge department has placed a 30-day freeze on the use of purchase cards, and that anything over $1, instead they've set all the cards to $1, so that anyone has to spend anything, they have to go do a mother may I spend money. Okay, so that has put a chilling effect kind of on the environment at the time, but I don't believe that you can take $27 billion of spending through this highly efficient strategy and then replace it with something else in 30 days. Will there be a smaller government purchase card program? I think so. Probably 700,000 across the whole of government. One could make an argument, man, that's a lot to manage and govern, and to make sure that quality assurance is a part of that. So will it be a smaller program? I think so, but I think at the end of the 30 days, and we're about 2 weeks through it already, so we've got about 2 more weeks to go. But I think when we come out of that, I think there will be a government purchase card 2.0 program.
Yeah.
But we still vendors need to be taking this time to be ready and get ready, because again, there's still no September 31st.
Something that's interesting to me on this is it kind of seems like it's March 2020 again, but instead of the government saying, hey, restaurant, hey, gym, you can't really be open.
Yeah. It's
the government saying, hey, government, you can't be open, type of thing. And so it's that from a big time novice, like that's what it sounds like to me. It's like, this sounds like 5 years ago. And Tim and I started this show about this time 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember those conversations with people who are like, well, we just don't know.
You just don't know.
So, and
yeah. Well,
so I don't know what I want to hear from that, but it just seems like we've kind of been through this before.
To your point, though, it's interesting in terms of like right now, if you look at it from an everyday Joe or Jane person, and you have like dozens and dozens of subscription services that are hitting your credit card every month, the fastest way to know what subscription services that are still trying to hit your card is to bring that thing down to you can't authorize any more transactions. Right. Then you can like zero-base budget in terms of, do I need this subscription or do I not? Absolutely. And then so it's a quick way or an effective way to get healthy with managing your spending. So I think that's probably what this 30 days is, William.
Yeah, agreed. I see it as the opportunity for them to get their hand around a very large but a very effective program. Those 30 days will allow them to decide what the size is. We see some movements. General Services Administration, GSA, they are heavy in this space. They manage this program, and they're being reimagined literally by the day. So I think at some point there'll be an answer that comes out of that. And I don't leave it to chance. I submitted a proposal to the Doge caucus that says, hey, look, okay, if you want to have you want to lock in some additional efficiencies, let's go. Let me introduce you to MicroMarket and what we are accomplishing and what we've done and the traction that we've had. So I'm a big fan of turn every rock. Don't leave anything to chance. Or at least if it's all said and done, you want to be able to say, well, at least I tried.
Yeah, I call that raising your damn hand, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, and you based on the fact that with all the experience you have, This is not the first time you've witnessed something like this.
No. I've seen this. I was reminded when I was in grad school, one of my public administration professors said that the government is like squeezing a water balloon. He used this analogy, and he brought a water balloon to class all the time. He said, so when you think you're doing something and you're squeezing here, it just comes out somewhere else. So this is an opportunity. The water balloon is absolutely being squeezed right now, but the future of what that looks like is going to be we're going to a little bit of reactionary time, and then wherever the water is going, similar to the analogy of Wayne Gretzky said that he skates to where the puck is going. It's like we have to do some strategic bets on where we think, based on what we see, where we think the puck is going. And I think the puck is going. I don't think the puck is going far on the government purchase card program. And I've been through 6 of these, in my career, from starting in federal government in 1995. And all the way through this journey in the acquisition environment. I've been through 6 of the administration changes, these pendulum swings, and each one of them swings in their own way. This is a faster swing than most, but they all do swing in their own way.
Yeah, this has proven to be really, really fast. And I think that's probably what is really shook everybody, is just the speed of which this is happening.
Yeah, I think so. I believe so. When I see the moves, again, I was inside of government and for the last 10 years of my career in executive assignments within Department of Homeland Security. So if you think back to 2015, 2016, where lots of things were happening in the space of illegal immigration, we have these movements and people have big decisions, and I've seen how the decisions are made at the top and how they trickle down, but they tend to be a little, in my opinion, a little more thoughtful and methodical. And what I'm seeing now is just movements. And what I'm surprised at is, for instance, I read this morning that USDA has to hire back their 6,000 employees that they cut. It's like, wow, so someone didn't think that all the way through, that we actually can do this and that the courts would not reverse this. So now we've got to unwind that, pay back pay, because the article said everybody's going to get their back pay. But how many of those folks have gone on to something else, done something else, if not physically, mentally, they've turned that off and have gone somewhere else. And that's always hard. Indecisiveness and uncertainty in government is the killer of activity, because if people are focused on something else other than the thing you're asking them to do, it's hard to get their attention on the work of the work in the business of government.
Well, the thing that's super interesting to me is that, we hear about the cliches all the time, the speed of government and the speed of business, and this is the first time that we're seeing the speed of business in the government.
In the government.
It's whoa.
Yeah.
And I think that from this region, it's interesting in the sense that a lot of times founders that come from the government and want to do a startup, they're still operating at the speed of government. An opportunity will pass them by. And now, people are just there's some shock and awe right now at the speed of which this is taking place.
Tim, you're spot on that. And that's the journey that I had to take. Having, I went into the military at 17 years, 8 months. I wasn't even old enough. My parents had to sign for me to go into the Navy when I went in. So from 17 until 46, I was a W-2 guy. Okay, the Eagle flew every 2 weeks or so. The Eagle flew. So the speed wasn't a. There was a different measure of goodness than speed. And then when I moved into the entrepreneurial environment, it's like, ooh, you got to sing for your supper every day. And when you sing for your supper every day, you've got to be singing on tune, because if you're not singing on tune, the opportunity will pass you by. Somebody else will sing the song and they're off and going. So I think you're spot on with that. I think it's a transition experience from employee to entrepreneur. And I think it's exacerbated in government because even as a government employee, the measure isn't always speed, bottom line, or savings. You know, I'm sure in your resource experience in the Air Force, there were probably some times that someone said, "Just spend the money." Okay, that just spend the money.
Certainly at fiscal year end, that was man.
Yeah, so it's a different experience.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know how it works now, but Zach, like, so we mentioned September 30th several times. So at the end of September 30th, all your money needs to be spent, or else it just goes into vapor. It doesn't go anywhere; it just disappears.
Yeah.
So come the last couple of weeks in September, you're spending the rest of that money, and it's wild times during that flurry of activity.
So that's when
but you have to have everything prepped and ready to go so that when that does happen,
that's right.
So that's why now is the time to get on the MicroMarket platform and make sure that that you're discoverable and that you're able to make that transaction occur.
Absolutely.
So a couple of things. Number one is you got out of the 26 years, and then you decided to do your own thing. I don't know if I've ever asked you this. Like how did you want to? Like, what made you want to bet on yourself and go all in on this and not just continue the career?
Yeah, it was two things. My granddaughter was born when I was 45. My granddaughter was born, first grandchild, and I was like, I always wanted. I had this idea in the back of my head of transfer, kind of intergenerational or generational activity, wealth transfer, and it dawned on me, it's like no matter how well I did in government, I would not be able to hand the office, the keys, the job over to my granddaughter just because she had the right last name and the right DNA. Just that's not the game. One game is chess, one game is checkers. That was not the game. And I was like, wow, no matter how well. And I was 45 at the time. My minimum retirement age was 57. So I had 12 more years in government. And then at the end of that, I was like, I couldn't hand it off to the kids, no matter how well I could have done the best job. And I was like, I want to do something. What could I build? So the first thing was, what could I build in 12 years that I could actually just hand it off, that I don't have to do a job search. No, I had to put a job announcement out, all the things that go along with a competitive transition of leadership. I was like, they're just because they're my kids, I can do that. So that was the first thing. So then when I left government, I at 45, I retired, and then I did consulting for 2 years because I wanted to learn the other side of the business. Again, I had been a W-2 for over 30 years, so I wanted to learn, get closer to what business looked like. I had an opportunity, found a great landing place when I retired to learn government contracts from a contractor perspective, from a consultant perspective. And one day I was reviewing some contracts. I was the senior acquisition guy on the team. So all proposals that came through to be bidded out, that were bidding out to the government, they came through my desk to make sure that it made sense. So I was daddy contracts guy. And in one contract, they were actually bidding my work out. So bidding me out as part of this contract. I was kind of an oversight guy, but for some reason that someone had requested to have a senior guy come on the team and be a part of the team. And I noticed in the contract that they were bidding me out at $186 an hour. And it dawned on me that my salary at the time was $91. When I took my salary, which was more money than I thought I would ever make in life, I was like, wait a minute. I'm 91. They're bidding it out at 186, and they get to keep the delta. I was like, wait a minute. And they haven't done 26 years of government contracting service. Actually, at the time, the owner of the company was not a contracts guy at all. He was just the owner of the company. And I was like, wait a minute. He gets to keep $95 and he pays me $91. And that's like, okay, I need to do something different. And 6 months later, I had started my own company because I said, I want the whole 86,
Yep.
So those were the two moments. You know, I had a grandchild being born and wanted to see some longevity in the family. And then second, I actually had a data point of my actual worth and value in the marketplace.
Same deal. Gotta love that multiple.
Yeah, not bad.
And like, that's the whole thing. You know, I was in the exact same position where I was like, I knew what I was getting paid. I knew what I was getting bid out at from a contract standpoint. And I was like, man, it's time to bet on myself.
Yes, exactly.
And I might not get the 191 an hour, but man, if I can, whatever I get in between what I'm getting and what they're bidding,
bingo,
I'm winning.
I'm winning. Bingo.
Yeah. That's
So double-sided marketplaces historically have been a challenge for people because you have two customers, right?
Yes.
You're not trying to go after, let's just be honest, it's like, okay, you need two people to, to tango, two to tango, if you will. How has that been? You got your 800 on one side. What about the other side? What's that been like?
Well, I've been fortunate that when I left government, most of my contemporaries, folks, I left it when I retired early at 46. So most of my contemporaries were still there. So I still had basically 26 years of relationships to leverage. So I've just been going out and doing demos. That's one of the ways that we spread the word. So we bring on contracting teams or purchase card teams as a resource tool. It's like, hey, here's another resource tool for you to do your market research for micro purchase services. So demos is one, and been fairly successful with that. I think up to kind of the end of last year, and then it's been a little crazy season. It's hard to get people's attention right now, so I understand that, and I just lead with patience and grace, with hopes of getting back into doing those demos. But personally, me doing the storytelling. Second, we have a LinkedIn presence that we do LinkedIn engagement and talk about the platform and our growth. We kind of build. I call it. I think there's a phrase now that you build in public. So I'm trying to build in public and show people the journey on LinkedIn. But what I have found out to be the greatest value proposition is outbound marketing from the people on the platform. At the end of last year, we did some forensics on the sales as we want to understand. It's like, okay, who's having success and what are the characteristics of that success? And when we broke that down, what we found out was, 9 out of 10 of those individuals that are finding success on the platform are doing outbound marketing, meaning that they are taking their storefronts, their offers, each one has a unique URL when it's built. They're taking that out and they're sending that out to warm and cold leads. They're doing email marketing. They're sending it out and letting people know they have an easy button to buy right here on the platform. So that is a dynamic that's at play. And those are kind of the three ways we are telling the story of MicroMarket, and then doing outbound activity as well from our perspective as an organization.
Got it. Seen you pitch multiple times. If I recall, very gregarious, very outgoing, very good at pitching. Is that something that's just natural to you? How has that all started? Because a lot of people are terrible at pitching, and so when you see someone who is actually good at it, you're like, oh wow. That doesn't mean that you're going to win an event or anything like that, but I definitely think that it helps get over the hump of it. So how'd you get good at pitching?
So you're kind. Thank you for the compliments. I think it's two things. I grew up in a family of educators on one side of the family and preachers on the other side of the family. So some of it just comes natural that I don't mind getting in front of people and storytelling. But the second is it comes from I think the business that we're in, education and training, knowledge transfer, is that the ability to tell stories and the ability to communicate ideas, break complex ideas down into small digestible pieces is just something that I have worked at because I'm a natural introvert. But it's just something that I've worked at over time. And I hopeful, and it sounds like it shows up when it's time to talk to people and do storytelling and be in the influential space of inviting people to take a journey with you.
Got it. Why'd you move down here?
As most things that guys do after a lady, my girlfriend at the time, fiance at the time, lived in this area, so that was a reason to come. But also, my very first military assignment was Dam Neck, Virginia, down in Virginia Beach. So when I joined the military, I went to San Diego, California for boot camp, and then my first duty station was Dam Neck, Virginia, and I fell in love with Virginia Beach. I'm a native Virginian, and we used to come here as a child for vacations, but I've just fallen in love with the area, the weather, the water, all the things. So I knew I would eventually come back, but I met a young lady here and decided to come back and start my family, and build a residence and business here.
Got it. Well, I stayed here for a girl.
And there you have it. And there you have it.
I get that. It's funny. As you were saying the weather, I was about to be like, yeah, and it's already summer. And then literally the heat kicked on in my house as I was saying that. I'm like, well, I guess it's not summer if the heat's on. But
that's right. That's right.
That's cool. Do you go to Virginia Beach a lot? Do you end up getting in the water? Are you a big beach kind of guy, or like what do you?
I'm much more of
that
a
aspect.
Yeah, I'm much more of a fishing. I enjoy fishing, sports fishing. So while I do enjoy the water, like the beach, we live in Hampton, so I lived at Buckrow for a couple of years on the water. It's so funny that when you don't live near the water, it's like all you want to do is live near the water. And then when you live near the water, it's like, it's just water, So then we moved to another area of Hampton after a couple of years. But I can still fish whenever I want to. So to get on the water, just a calm day on the water with me, friends, and fishing bait is an amazing day for me as an introvert.
Very good. Very, very cool. Mr. Ryan, are you back?
I'm back. I feel like I'm back.
It's just what's the word, apropos of the day that you're having? I don't know what that word means. So if it was used incorrectly,
sounds good.
Well done, Zach. Well done.
I don't know if I said it good.
You did good.
Give me a B for effort. Like
you got it.
Oh.
I carry on with the conversation. I'll jump in.
Okay. Yeah. So with all the changes going on and everything, and then obviously the credit card aspect of basically your business model kind of dropping for 30 days, what have you thought about that? Like, do you ever think about throwing in the towel? Is it just adjusting? Like, how do you, I know you said you applied to a piece of it to try to put that in there, but like when you hear that, hey, like this thing that I've been building and putting, my blood, sweat, and tears into, they basically turned it off for a little bit. How do you go through those motions to be like, okay, like I got to ensure that this is something that's going to be able to moving forward, because in the event that 30 days becomes 90 days, 360 days, years, forever, that becomes quite a challenge for you to live through. Yeah.
So, I'll be painfully honest. For about 2 days, I sat on the couch and just like, symbolically cried in my beer for about 2 days. It's like, okay, what am I going to do? But what I always tell people is like, it's okay to cry in your beer. Just put a date and time stamp on it. So I said, okay, I sat on the couch for about 2 days, and then I said, okay, what do I do? And the goal of MicroMarket was always to pivot to state, local, higher ed, and commercial. It just started at the federal level because that's where I had a competitive advantage in terms of relationships, connections, and knowledge. So just the transition, the pivots and adaptations to state, local, higher ed, and commercial just happened faster. So we just immediately pivoted to, okay, who's open? And what we found out is everybody else is open. If when the federal government is on pause, they're playing freeze tag right now. Everybody else is open. So for an example, on Monday and Tuesday, I flew to Chicago on Monday, had a presentation on Tuesday, and part of that presentation was a presentation to the Illinois Casino and Gaming Commission. the state of Illinois has 14 casinos, as well as other, another 10 or 15 gaming type functions, including sports betting. The state of Illinois has set upon that group of that business, that line of business, that industry, some goals for small businesses, women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, and minority-owned businesses. And the casinos are having a hard time. They're saying they can't find the vendors to support them. So I made a pitch on Tuesday morning to say we can build you not only either a standalone micro market, or we can embed a unique category specifically for the state of Illinois Gaming Commission, and you can use the platform. We can onboard your small businesses, so we can work with the local small business folks in the state of Illinois to do a marketing and a vendor outreach campaign to get people on the platform, and then you can use the platform capability that we've matured. It's robust. It's there. You can see it. I did a demo right there for them, and we can use this model to meet your goals. So the casinos win because they get vendors coming to the platform and easy to buy at some level. I don't think they're going to do 10,000, but there was some good coalescing around a $5,000 level for purchases within that community in Illinois. The regulatory folks in Illinois win because they meet their goals, and then the small businesses that are interested in getting access to the casino and gaming industry there, they get access and exposure in a highly efficient two-sided marketplace. So we're just pivoting. I am wasting no time. My theme of this season is turn every rock. So we're looking at every opportunity to make pivots and adaptations to the platform to serve other communities. And again, it was purpose built for the federal government, but there's nothing unique about that because anyone with a credit card can come and buy. So we're just making the pivots down the organizational structure. We started at the federal, and we're working with the state. I'm having conversations with some of the politicos inside of the state of Virginia to introduce the idea of that to the state of Virginia. There's no buying infrastructure currently, efficient infrastructure right now. Anything that's a micro buy or a small business buy on the EVA platform, it's still doing long form contracting. They have to go through the whole process for things that are simply to $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. They're still doing long form buying. So I'm talking to some of our political representation at the state level to introduce them to a platform that may more efficiently or have a better efficiency model than the long form contracting for small, lower risk dollar value. So pivots and adaptations. We're in the season of turning every rock and taking the concept and deploying it to other use cases.
Well, it's interesting. I think that just hearing what you're saying, and the irony of all of this is that this could be really beneficial for you. I mean, you are adding a lot of efficiency back into the federal government. When you think about any person that's in uniform, for example, they may never have stepped foot on Virginia soil before. Now all of a sudden they're responsible for having to make all of these purchases, and the default answer might be, I'm just going to go to Amazon, or I'm going to go to a Staples or something. Whereas you're able to provide, you're doing the vetting, you're providing the platform, you're providing the 3 different places that you can look at. There's a lot that you're bringing to the table that adds a lot of efficiency. It'll be interesting to see how this all turns out.
Yeah, well, we're trying, and again, I think we have a proven business model. And the thing about it is this business model isn't new. If you think about Fiverr, Upwork, there's lots of other platforms out there that do this. They just haven't been purpose driven. Fiverr is for, basically any business looking for the kind of transactional, logos and documents and infographics, but it's omnipresent. It's line of business agnostic. And what we're saying is there could be some value proposition of being hyper focused on a specific line of business, making that government, and then just bifurcating it or tiering it based on the level of government service and their unique buying structures. So we can tailor the platform to your current buying infrastructure and your buying regulations and guidance. You don't have to change your guidance to use the platform. We can tailor the platform to address or to accommodate whatever you have on the books as your buying structure. We're just saying go here to do it.
What kind of due diligence do you need to do for companies that want to get on the platform? I mean, I'm sure, do they have to have like a SAM number, a cage code, all that kind of stuff? Do you do that type of due diligence to make sure that they're good to go?
So
or is that not even required since it's a GPC purchase?
Yes, for the government purchase card, SAM's not required. However, our team, we've got a small team of folks that do two things. When people sign up, actually three things. One, we are hyper focused on services. There's lots of places for products, and no one wants to be trying to compete with Amazon. So there's plenty of places to go if you have products. We are focused on services. So number one, we are focused that they're indeed offering services. Number two, that they're offering services that the government historically buys. We paid $2,500 every year since 23. So in 23 and in 24, we pay about $2,500 for Freedom of Information Act report from the GSA that says, here's what the government purchased. So you can get the raw data for free, kind of the top line dollars, but we go into the merchant codes and see, okay, who's buying what, where, and it costs about $2,500 for us to go get that every year through the Freedom of Information Act. But we can take that data and then we bounce it against what people are offering and say, okay, this is actually something that the government has purchased before. And then the third test is we have to make sure that it doesn't have Russian or Chinese technology or telecommunications components in it. And we encourage people we have a form on the platform. It's called an attestation form. It's a government form that says you attest that your solution, your services solution, is not using any Russian or Chinese technology. Outside of those three tests, we let the marketplace decide goodness. If people are buying your service, that's a good sign. If people aren't buying your service, for a certain amount of time, it might be worth you to go back and rethink about it. So it's the attestation form for Chinese or Russian technology. It has to be something that the government buys, and it has to be service-based.
You've never been.
Oh, go ahead.
No, because mine's completely different. If you're.
I'm convinced, like right now, I'm like, hey, I want to get on this platform. How do people get on this platform?
So it's fairly, we've tried to make the user journey and user experience for buyers pretty streamlined. MicroMarket.co, there's a two journey there. One journey is for buyers, one journey is for sellers. So sellers or vendors, it's got a start now button right up front. When you hit vendors, if you can go to the bottom, there's also a sign up here now. It's free to join, it's free to list, and there's a 7% transactions fee on all sales. So the platform doesn't win until the vendors win. So that's why it's very important for us to do the onboarding and due diligence to make sure that they have compelling offers, because we don't win until the vendor wins. And then we have a Stripe integration for our credit card processing. That's 2.99%, and you're going to pay something around that no matter where you go. So it ends up being about a 90-10 split. So 90%, if you have a $10,000 offer, 9,000 of that is going to the vendor, 700 is going to the platform, and roughly $299 is going to Stripe.
Got it. If I recall, you've never been one to be afraid to prototype something, to try something out.
Yeah.
Like, how'd you get that mindset? Because a lot of people in this market that are like, I'm not really willing to do that. I need to go all in before you put like a foot in. I remember when I interviewed Damon John, he was like, I asked him a similar question. He's like, well, don't jump off the diving board on day one. Just put your foot in, get your foot wet, see if you like it. Right. Yeah. So like, what are your thoughts on just like the prototyping of things? I know you said you kind of did that with this as well. Like how does that mindset come into you, especially being a government guy for 3 decades?
Thank you. Zach, when you were asking the question, I was going to I was going this like, where did that come from? And I think it actually comes from government. Okay, the government, when in government, you are asked to do a lot of things. Okay, but especially in the contracting space, you get measured by what crosses the finish line, not what you start, but what you finish. So it is always in the best interest to make lots of little bets. To stay under the radar and make lots of little bets, and then let the marketplace tell you, or let the environment tell you what's working and what doesn't. When you're managing, at my largest organization, largest position that I had, we put about $12 billion in the books every year, contract awards, and had about 186 people that I was responsible for. I was the director of contracts in the Immigration and Customs within Homeland Security. And there was lots of things that they asked us to do, but we would make little small strategic bets. So we'd start a lot of things and just let them run the race. And if something looked like it was outpacing something else, we'd get on that horse and ride it. But we tried lots of little things. So I think for me, it's some of that. Some of that is in there of let's try something small and let the marketplace help that. I think it's probably if I had to add a second thing, is that I was not aware of and didn't come from a kind of a venture capital environment. That's just not a game, at least for my community, my local community. That's not a game we played. So you had to start with what you had. Okay, so you start with what you have, and then you just keep bolting on a little something. You learn something, and you pivot, and you add, and you subtract. So bootstrapping something that was not new to me. That was like, okay, that's the way it's supposed to be done. Is that you make small bets, and you learn as you go, and you don't have to rely on a big check to then. I get a sense, again, I haven't played the game, but as I've been exposed to the environment, with big checks come big opportunities, yes, but also with big opinions. And it's like, you don't just get a free check, you get a check plus opinions. And I believe, based on, at least for MicroMarket, based on my experience, I knew I was building the thing that I wish I had when I was in government. And I was building the thing that I wish I had when I started the business. So I'm not saying I'm the best to be able to articulate the value proposition and tell the story, but I had lived both sides of this, and I was building something that I wish I had in my past.
Yeah, there's I dig what you're doing. I mean, it's just I think that there is a real need for this, and I would love to see, again, I think that this chaos is creating opportunity, and super optimistic in terms of where this could go.
Thank you.
Please, I would love to know. Yeah, keep us informed. If you hear something back from Doge with you reaching out to them, that would be really interesting to see how that would be.
Yeah,
be adopted.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm hopeful. And this is another one of the make strategic bets. It's like, okay, here's what the environment is providing you. You take what the market gives you, and then you make some strategic bets on where you think that's going to go. And so I would not have been able to sleep at night, regardless of how what my politics are and what I believe about what's going on. I would not have been able to sleep at night if I didn't do that. If I saw that as an opportunity for the life of the business, and I didn't take that opportunity, it's like, I wouldn't have been able to sleep at night. And then if it wasn't successful, I would always have in the back of my head, if I would have only done that, it might have survived. So I would like to live with no regrets, and I don't mind making mistakes. I just don't want to live with regrets, because that's in my experience, that's the most painful, is the I wish I could have, I wish I should have. So I'd much rather live with I did and it didn't work than I wish I could have. I wish I should have.
Yeah, the old I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was
you got it.
baller.
You got it.
I wish I had a
Yeah. Well, I think that, I mean, just based on the fact of like right now, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of panic. And I think that what is happening is big swings are being taken for the biggest cuts as possible.
Yes.
And it's gonna take a little bit of time before you can get down to that surgical level. And I think that you're even below the surgical level standpoint. Because people still need the things that they need in order to survive as a government organization. So, you provide that opportunity for the government to take a bigger swing without having to get like microsurgical to make sure that things are in order.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I share with when I'm doing demos to vendors. I always tell people, remember at Christmas time when you go to Target and they have the 3-foot long Snicker bar. It's like that's a huge investment to make if you don't know you like Snicker bars or not. But imagine if you get the bite-size value that we get, the bite-size candy bars that we give away at Halloween. This is what the government does all the time. They do small things. They make small bets to see if, does this person really understand government contracting? Do they understand our mission? Can they speak our language? Do they understand how water flows? Are they going to be a good partner? You test that out on the bite-size Snicker, and it's like, these people are pretty good. Then you not only have the rationale, but you got the past performance to go buy the 3-foot one. This is what micro purchasing is from a services perspective, is giving the government small bite-sized opportunities to test out, to experience your company. And then you go in there and wow the crowd, and then you move up the value chain. I don't think I would encourage no one to build a business that says, all I'm going to do is micro purchasing. But it is an exceptional place to start if you are a new entrant. And as a growth strategy from a business development model, there's no better way to throw seeds that will sprout than to use the micro purchasing as a strategy. Because if one entity buys it, when you think about, again, prior to January, 700,000 card holders. If one person needed it, there's probably another 10 or 15 in that 700,000 that also needed it. You just have to get in front of them. So you have to find a strategy to do that.
One super quick question. How many times can someone utilize your platform and hit that within that $10,000 mark? So say you're buying that $9,000 whatever. Can you only do that a couple times a year before then looks like you're trying to skirt around exceeding that limit? How does that work?
So our platform would allow for it, but I always advise folks, there's something called split purchasing. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
If you have an $18,000 thing, you don't buy it twice for $9,000 to skirt the long contracting model. So the model, we always, we had some inside rules of thumb when I was in government. It's like, we used to call it wait a month. The cycling of the reviews is a 30-day, 60-day review. 30 days of activity, next 30 days of review. So if you buy something in January and you buy it again in February, you're in the review cycle. But all you have to do is get to March and you're outside of the review cycle. You're out of the 60-day review cycle. So the strategy there is wait a month. If you find something that you believe you need, and this is a strategy that could be used, and the demand signal is across 3 months. We're not telling anybody to break the law or lie, okay? But you can buy 9,000 in January, wait a month, buy 9,000 in March.
Got it. Thank you.
There we go. All right, so you're not from here. You're not from here. You moved here in 2017.
Yes.
And so you've been here 8 years now. Do you believe that or have you seen, is there like a food, a drink, a thing of the region?
For me, yes, yeah. It is something that is probably going to surprise you. There is a Chinese food that it's like rice and sausage with a brown gravy. I've never seen this anywhere else but here. But they call it sausage and rice, but it's like amazing. It's like it's like, where has this been all my life? So it is nothing. People would think seafood. It's like, I've had seafood, but man, this sausage and gravy thing is amazing. And then when I first moved down here was the first time I had experienced the restaurant cookout. So I wore cookout out when I first moved down here. That barbecue tray was everything, when I first moved down here. So outside of that, I've been here and I'm a Virginian. I'm a native Virginian, so I've been back and forth. But man, that sausage and rice is amazing.
Is that at a specific Chinese restaurant or all Chinese restaurants?
I think all Chinese. I've been to a couple of Chinese restaurants. Now they don't serve it at Panda. Panda's a little foo-foo. It's foo-foo Chinese food.
Panda Express?
Yeah.
That's fast food.
not as foo-foo as PF Chang's, but the general corner store Peking sunrise, Peking sunset restaurant, they have a sausage and rice dish. It is amazing. You should try it.
Well, I will tell you this, and I know Tim is going to second this. I haven't heard that answer.
Haven't heard that answer.
And that's really what we're looking for here. Like either a consensus, like on one thing, or something so out of the blue, like
it's totally out of the blue.
Rice and sausage with some brown sauce on it at the local Chinese place. I mean, it's the
best ever. It's the best ever.
Chinese
never not had that. And truth be told, I've never had cookout either.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
You used to be able to get like half a pig for $5. Now it's like, they raised the rates.
It's a quarter of a pig for $5 now.
You get it's literally like, you could make the argument, how they make those like the biggie bags now or whatever, like the $5 meal, whatever. Yeah. It's the original of that.
Yes. But
with more stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of options. They're milkshakes. I don't know if you guys are milkshakes guys.
I've heard a lot of great things about the milkshakes.
Yeah.
Peanut butter chocolate, really good. Pineapple, really good. And at least in the past, I feel like I haven't been to cookout in quite some time, but you could get that tray.
Yeah.
And then I think you can get a shake just for an additional $1 instead of like your drink.
For your drink. Yeah, instead of a big tea, you get a drink. you get a shake.
Yeah, a lot of people like cookout too because of cheer wine.
Yeah.
Which is a North Carolina thing. So you can't get.
I know sometimes I drive by and like the line is backed up out onto the street, like causing like traffic problems. And
looks
but
like
I just have never made my way. Yeah.
Sounds like a place. Sounds like a party we need to go to. So let's go to cookout. Well, William, it's been great catching up, seeing you again.
Thank you.
Hope to see you in person again sometime soon.
Absolutely.
Tim, any thoughts?
Yeah. No, I appreciate your time. Thank you for your flexibility. This is a great episode. Keep us updated on how things progress on your end. And to everyone watching, thank you. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And we'll see you next Thursday.
Right. All the best.